Fantasy football. Lucky for you, you are right where you need to be. So sit back, relax, and turn up the volume on your streaming device. Johnny Ballgame, Sir Poops a Lot, and the Fantasy Reaper are about to deliver humor and fantasy gold at the same time. Crush your opponent with a smile. It's Fantasy Sports Island.
Welcome to Fantasy Sports Island.
Look,
What's up?
Welcome to the show, Johnny Ballgame.
What's up? I'm just jamming.
How you doing tonight, John?
I'm in a great mood, man. I'm in a great mood. Let's do this. You know what we should do? Let's talk about some football, you guys.
Definitely. You can catch John at JohnIsbell85 on Twitter. And welcome to the show, Sir Poops a Lot, Tony Brooks. Bing, 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 bing.
Look at
Hi.
me. He looks like a celebrity.
Hello,
How's it going, Tony?
What's up?
Tony's at Poop Newton on Twitter. You can hit him up there. Tony, everything good? Had a good week?
Not bad. Doing well. Drinking too much coffee.
Yeah.
Wondering why I have like a overstimulated heart.
Yeah. Gotta take care of that, boss.
Yeah. Too
Hey,
much
so
coffee.
speaking of Twitter, someone asked me the other day if I thought I was Santa Claus. So, it's
Are
pretty
you?
nice. I don't think I'm Santa Claus. I know I'm Santa Claus.
Exactly. You are the crystal meth Santa Claus, John. You will
Yeah.
always be.
Yeah, no, that's my parents are super proud.
Super proud.
Yeah.
All right. I am Chuck Bishop, the Fantasy Reaper. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Island. We are the inventors of PPR. You're welcome. And if you enjoyed PPR, do us a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, that notification bell, because we do this every week, Johnny Ballgame, every freaking week.
Every freaking week, except for the weeks we're not here. And then suck it out. It's just a week, all right? Back up off us.
I mean, gosh.
I guess you guys go to work every week. Okay, no vacations, no Christmas break, whatever.
Fantasy Sports Island is now on Rumble as well as YouTube. Go to the search engine, hit Fantasy Sports Island, and you should be able to find our videos rather simply. Hey, man, if you got ideas for the show, segments, or things you like, things you don't like, let us know in the messages down below. Would you not? Would you leave us a message, John?
Ding. I would leave us a message.
I mean,
You know,
I
what
would.
I would leave us? You guys are cool.
Also, if you want to hear us on podcasts, check your local podcast providers, Apple Podcasts, etc. And again, enter the search Fantasy Sports Island. You should be able to find us. And give us a 5-star rating while you're at it.
Yes, that would be really awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Tonight, John, we have a great show. We're going to unveil my top 10 prospect rankings for the wide receiver position coming into this year's draft. By the way, the draft, Tony, is in 3 weeks.
Unbelievable. You guys excited?
I'm
What?
by.
I'm stoked.
I'm excited. It was fun to dig into these wide receivers for tonight's show. So we're going to get to that shortly. We're also going to do our news and notes. And then I have a new segment that I'm going to throw at you guys. It's kind of a surprise segment, so I don't want to unveil it just yet. It's going to be fun, though. I know Johnny's going to like it. So you have to stick with us till the end, folks, to find out.
That's right.
How's that for a teaser?
We call that a tease in the biz. You know what I mean?
That's right. It's called the tease in the biz. That's right. All right. So if you guys are ready, stick with us for the next hour. Have a pina colada and relax. And here we go.
Feel like pina coladas.
John, who sings that?
Some dude. I can't remember his name.
Can we keep it that way?
I know you.
All right. News and notes, folks. We only have a couple stories to talk about because not much has happened. We're kind of in the dead period of the NFL season right now. But Austin Eckler, running back for the Chargers, went on his podcast and announced that he realizes that he might end up having to play one more year for the Chargers. So what's happened is the Chargers he wanted to negotiate a new deal, and they weren't on the same page as far as amount of dollars for the contract. So he asked to be traded, and they told him, go ahead and seek your own trade. They gave him permission, and he's been doing that. And what he's finding out, John, is that there isn't a lot of suitors out there willing to pay his demands. So what do we think, John? What's going to happen with Austin Eckler?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just the continued devaluation of the running back, right? And I think there needs to be a new category. It's the pass catching running back is half receiver, half running back, and they should probably get a salary in between a receiver and just a regular running back. They do a lot more things. They're a lot more electric. They're a little bit more well-rounded, and so maybe that's what's going to have to happen someday, but that's not where we are now. And so I'm not surprised that the Chargers don't want to renegotiate. He's getting a little bit up there in years. He sat behind some folks early in his career, so he's a little bit up there in years. He doesn't have as much mileage on the tires comparatively speaking, but he's run a lot over the last several years. And again, he's got a little bit of an injury history. He was fine last year, but the year before that and the year before that and the year before that, he had some injuries and missed some games. So I'm not surprised.
Tony, how do you feel about Austin Eckler as a fantasy prospect for you in this year's season? What are we thinking here?
Now it feels a little bit risky. I like what Johnny said, though, looking towards the future of the running back. To me, it looks like we're really going the direction of the tandem thing, having a couple solid running backs going all the time. It could go either way with Eckler, and that's why it's risky. He could be like, all right, I got to play one more year, and I want to be healthy and protect myself and not go all out. And the team could also say, hey, all right, you're not enthusiastic. You want to be traded. We're not going to give you the ball that much. Or he could say, I need to, earn my value. So I'm going to kick some serious ass. And that's a risky pick for a fantasy owner.
Yeah. So as he plays out this last year of his contract, if he does, Austin Eckler is going to be 29 next season.
Yep.
Going in, and he's going to be looking for on the open market for a big contract, which is not going to be there for him. So I really feel bad for him because he has played for a pretty good price for the Chargers. Like, they got a deal these last few years, and now he's trying to get them to pay out, and they're not going to do it. So it's kind of sad for Eckler because he never really got that big contract, and he's being paid less than most running backs just got in the open market this season. He's being paid less than all of them. Yeah,
you feel bad for him because he's for sure outperformed his contract. That's the thing. It's like, and if he had underperformed, they'd be looking to cut his salary this year, but he overperformed and they're not looking to pay him more. You do feel for him. I do, because I just hate that they're devaluating that position as much as they are. So.
Yeah. And another thing that could happen, reporters are suggesting that the Chargers are going to look for a running back in the draft, and they just so happen to be picking in the slot around the area where Bijan Robinson is supposed to go. So that could be really bad for Austin Eckler if they do go ahead and get Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. I mean, they'd be brilliant. And they could trade. I mean, you could see Austin Eckler traded on draft day, possibly.
Yeah, if they end up getting Bijan, and then they would look to flip Austin Eckler. I would almost guarantee you that.
Yep.
Okay. Eric DeCosta, GM of the Ravens, acknowledged to media there is a possibility that the Ravens are looking to select a quarterback in round 1.
Nice.
So this Lamar Jackson thing is getting a little weird. If they do go ahead and draft a quarterback in the first round, that means they have just selected their new franchise quarterback and they will move on from Lamar Jackson. What do we think is going to happen, Tony, if that were to occur? If the Ravens go ahead and draft a first round quarterback, what happens to Lamar?
Well, he's still going bye-bye, I would say, but where to? That's what I'm confused about. I mean, and the money that he wants, it's already not. He would be somewhere right now, in my opinion, if there was somebody that was confident in him, had the money, or felt that they wanted to pay that money. It would be a done deal. And this just makes the whole thing more confusing and some ways more interesting because it's kind of dramatic. But I think if they draft somebody, I don't know. I kind of think it's baloney. I don't, there's something's good. They're playing like some back and forth here.
I mean, they would
trying to get
draft somebody anyway. Even if Lamar was going to be back, Lamar plays a style in which Lamar gets the crap beat out of him. So they'd be super smart to draft somebody like a Richardson, who's a project. Richardson's probably not going to start day one. He's more of a project, more of a Jalen Hurts kind of thing. Give him a year to get there, and then he'll be a good running back quarterback, and then maybe he'll be a good throwing quarterback third year. Sure. So I think that would actually be a really smart idea to draft Richardson, even if he was in. Here's the thing. He's got a franchise tender that says he's got to sign with them, or he's got to find another team to sign, give them an offer sheet, and they can either match it or let that team have it, and then that team would have to give up 2 first-round draft picks. He's expensive. He's expensive as hell. So if I'm the Ravens, you'd have to give me an unbelievably great trade for him, right? Like because otherwise, sign him as a free agent. You're going to have him just give us 2 draft picks, 2 first-round draft picks.
Let's be real. John, if they're drafting a quarterback in the first round, that means they're going for a top 4 or 5 quarterback. That means they've made a trade to get a high pick, maybe top 10 pick, okay? And in order to do that, that means Lamar Jackson got traded in the trade, right? Most likely. There isn't a world where they can draft a top 5 quarterback and keep Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. It's one or the other. That's why I think the Colts – I don't. The Ravens aren't picking till later in the first round. Those quarterbacks will be gone by then, so they can't really get a top 5 quarterback unless they trade up, right? And that would include Lamar Jackson, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think the Colts are what we. Yeah, I think the Colts are what we need to keep an eye on. I think the Colts want Lamar Jackson. I think the Colts are willing to play ball. I think when it's all said and done, that is the place he'll end up. I'm calling it now. Lamar Jackson to the Colts.
I can see that.
Where do the Colts draft again?
Colts are drafting behind. They're drafting 4th. So they want one of those top 3 quarterbacks, and it may not happen if a team jumps ahead and takes Arizona's pick.
Yeah.
Pick 3. So those top 3 quarterbacks would be off the board, and then the Colts, I think, would pivot and go for Lamar.
Yeah.
Okay. Last bit of news. It's real quick. John Elway's contract as a special advisor to the Broncos has come to an end, and it won't be renewed, thus ending his tenure with the Broncos. It's weird to say that John Elway is no longer a part of the Broncos organization. That is strange, right, Tony?
Yeah, it's been a long time. You can't associate that name, that face with any other organization.
Yeah.
So it is a little weird.
And it's sad, too, because I think he was behind a lot of the maneuvers to try to get that franchise quarterback. And since Peyton Manning, they basically have been just like tripping over their own dick, getting crappy quarterback after crappy quarterback. And then they make the desperate move for Wilson. And so far, that's been a big-time flop. So, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing that John Elway's not going to be helping out anymore. Sorry, John. I love you, brother.
He could not hit on the quarterback before Peyton or after Peyton. So
yeah, and honestly, he got 2 good years out of Peyton Manning, but that's it. That's all he got.
Yeah,
2 good years.
Yep. I mean, he got a Super Bowl out of it, so it's pretty good.
He did, and he got a couple records from Peyton Manning there. So
yeah.
All right. Let's get on to the meat of the show, and that is our top 10 prospects rankings at the wide receiver position. All right. Last week, if you didn't see it, we did the running backs. So go ahead and go back and check that out if you need some info on the running backs. Tonight, we're doing the wide receivers, and these are my top 10 in my order that I think I like best at wide receiver coming into this year's draft. And we're also going to go over a few guys that didn't quite make the cut. So, John, Tony, if you guys are ready, let's dive right in.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Go. All right. So I'm going to go over just a couple guys real quick that didn't make my top 10, but I just want to mention them because, I mean, they make a lot of people's top 10. So, first guy is Rashee Rice out of SMU. John, are you familiar with Rashee Rice, and what do you think?
I don't know him that well. I feel like he was a speed guy. I don't know. I don't know him that well.
He doesn't have physical traits like a normal wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's not really that fast. I don't know. I think he's going to be more like a slot receiver in the NFL, and that's why he's not on a lot of people's top 10. At SMU, Rice, I mean, he blew up. He had 156 targets. He was very reliable, good hands, 12 touchdowns. So I could see him being a productive wide receiver 2 or maybe a 3 on an NFL team. So let's move on. Let's talk about Parker Washington out of Penn State.
Big 10, baby.
He's got a unique build and skill set when projecting to the next level. He looks more kind of like a running back type body than a receiver, so he's kind of smallish. Yeah. What do you think, Tony?
I don't know a ton about him either, but to me, some of the reading that I've been doing is he's not as fast as I thought he was. He sounds like he's a little bit possibly on the slower side, a little bulky, and like you said, kind of more like a running back. Not that running backs are slow. But if he works with the right team, he may come – I don't know. He may progress after a couple years. I wouldn't be jumping out to draft him. But, yeah, maybe like a second or third wide receiver.
They're calling him more like a power slot type wide receiver. So he's kind of a bigger sized slot receiver. So
yeah. He's that guy that you want to throw to around. I mean, he's not super tall. He's 5'10". But he's really reliable. Like a guy catches anything that's thrown to him. He's got a nice catch radius around him. I watched him play against Ohio State, so that's a guy I'm actually pretty familiar with. He's good. He'll make a team. Like he'll probably be a special teams guy, get in there like that, and then hopefully make his Julian Edelman kind of thing, only a little bit bigger version of him. So
okay, good. Nathaniel Dell out of Houston, senior running back, 5'10", 165. This guy's a separator. He's a speedster. If you play him close at the line, he's going to blow by you and go deep. He's very good in a straight line. He's got a lot of touchdowns. He's a first down kind of guy. Every catch gets him a first down. So I could see him being a pretty good wide receiver 2 in the NFL. I like Nathaniel Dell. Do we have any thoughts on him, guys?
A little smaller.
Yeah, he's not super big. Yeah,
he's 5'10", 165, so he's more in the elk of like even smaller than Tyreek Hill as far as weight. He's very thin.
He was super productive like his junior year. Had 90 catches, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. That's a nice. So, same in 2022, actually. Same thing. He had 109 catches for 1,300 yards and did I read that right? Does he had 17 touchdowns in his senior year? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn good.
He's productive. I mean, he played at Houston, though, so it's not like a major conference, but he's got some talent. Yeah. All right. The last guy I want to talk about before we get to our top 10 is Romeo Dunze out of Washington. He's a sophomore, 6'3", 201, kind of a well-rounded wide receiver. He had a breakout campaign last season. 44 catches, 6 scores in his first 6 games of the season, and then he slowed down after that. But what do we think about a Dunze? Any thoughts, Tony?
I don't love the guy, and I always do some depth work and read, and most of it's rumors, but a little bit of the give up attitude, like towards the end of the game or towards the end of the season. Doesn't have a lot of longevity. Doesn't separate well. Maybe like a first half type of guy. The stats don't necessarily show that, but the attitude I've been reading kind of shows that he slows down a little bit as the game goes on.
Okay. John, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of wish that guy would have stayed in school another year and gotten a little bit better. I'm not sure he's going to get drafted. If so, he's probably a late round flyer kind of guy. I don't know.
Okay. Let's go on to my top 10. We'll see what you guys think about this. We'll go backwards from 10 to 1. Number 10, I'm going Jonathan Mingo. What do we think about Jonathan Mingo? John, I'll start with you. Have you heard anything about Jonathan Mingo? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, he's an Ole Miss guy. Got some size to him, but also some speed. I like Jonathan Mingo. He's one of those guys that, like, I don't know, just always seems to do something in a game. Like any games that I ever watch. And granted, I live down in SEC country, so I did watch a few SEC games, and I always thought Mingo. I felt like he should have been more of a star because when he did get the ball, he was really good. I just don't know that he got the ball as much. So
he's a bigger dude. He's 6'2", 220. Yeah. He's in the ilk of like an A.J. Brown or like a Deebo Samuel. Big dude, fast. Yeah. Get him out in the open field and he'll make some, he'll do some damage. So,
right.
Tony, any other thoughts?
Yeah, he's all muscle. He kind of remind me from time to time. Kind of remind me of even like maybe a Metcalf or something, but not that talented. Not that talented, but that build, big, strong dude.
Okay,
I think he's going to be one of those guys that someone is going to get him in like the second or third round, and he's going to end up starting for them in a couple of years, like maybe first year even. Like I think he's got more skill, and I think he's going to do better in pros than he did in college.
Okay.
My early call.
That's good. There are a lot of guys that do that. So, all right. Number 9, I got Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. What do we think about him, John?
I mean, the guy had 20 yards per reception or something like that. I mean, he's productive. The guy makes good catches. Doesn't get a lot of catches per game, but he does a lot with what he gets. So, yeah, I like him.
A good comp. He's a big play guy, so a good comp is like a Darius Slayton or maybe a Darnell Mooney. He'll catch a 40-yard pass every now and then. Big touchdown kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I like his speed. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a big play guy, but he's not a volume receiver.
Right.
So, Tony, any thoughts?
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Okay. All right. Let me go to my number 8. And I got Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati. And since he played for Cincinnati, I have a feeling you guys know a little bit more about Tyler Scott because you guys are from there. So anybody want to start?
Yeah. I'll shoot. I remember him being a junior, Olympic dude, sprinter or whatever. Mm-hmm. The dude's fast, and he same way catches a lot of those long TDs. And what was it? I think he's like one thing I remember them specifically talking about during the actual season, not during Columbine, but he's not really great at breaking tackles. That was one thing. He gets slammed pretty easily. I don't know a lot about that, but that's one thing to look out for. But the NFL might shape him up to be able to improve on that.
Yeah, and also he is speedy. He has 4.4 speed, so he's very fast. John, what do you think about him?
Yeah, he obviously played better when he had Desmond Ritter as quarterback, but Ritter's in the pros now. There's a reason. So had a much better junior or sophomore season, I think, than his junior season. I like him. I think he's a little unpolished. I think he's going to be one of those guys they'll use for gadgets and put him out there as a fourth receiver when they need somebody to go deep until he actually works his way and gets a little more polish around him.
Yeah, good call. He's definitely an X kind of wide receiver. In college, he ran 96% of his routes on the outside, so he's not really going to be in the slot too much. He's a speedster. Yeah. All right. Let me move on to my number 7. I'm going to go with Josh Downs out of North Carolina. What do we know about Josh Downs, Johnny?
I mean, I think he got a lot of volume for his team, right? Like he caught a lot of their balls. Um, Kind of, I don't know, like a third wide receiver to me. Like he's going to be that guy. Like maybe playing the slot, maybe playing the third as the third wide receiver. I don't know. I like him. I think he's been productive. Kind of North Carolina doesn't play a lot of great teams though, so I mean, you wonder how the competition was, but I kind of like him.
I think a good comp is like a guy like Hunter Renfrow kind of comp.
He doesn't want the ball, right?
Maybe a Randall Cobb type player, like a good dependable third wide receiver in a good offense that could work in the NFL. So I like him. What do you think, Tony?
And he's shows a lot of maturity, kind of a leader. He's not necessarily a team captain, but a lot of guys look up to him. He's got some maturity, and I like that. And guys coming from college to NFL, if they're grown up and ready to play ball, it's a good trait.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to my number 6. I'm going to go with Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. Now, some of us know his dad, Spencer Tillman. Very good running back in the NFL, good special teams player. But his son's a little bit different, right? What do we think? I mean, Johnny, tell me about Cedric Tillman. What do you think about him?
I think he's an X receiver too, right? Like he's probably a 4.5, 4.4 guy, but he's tall. I mean, that guy's got some size to him. He had some injury issues. He had some ankle surgery and stuff like that. Wasn't even the number one receiver on his team this year, and he's a little older, right? I mean, because he was a red shirt, but yeah. But this guy seems to me like he's kind of like the other guy I was talking about. I think he's going to be better in pros than he was in college. So he's going to come right in and understand offenses. He is a little bit older. He's a little more mature. I don't know that he'll have a ton of longevity, but for about 5 or 6 really good years, someone's going to get a good wide receiver out of him.
Yeah, he's a bigger receiver. He's not fast. He ran a 4.5 4.40. He's 6'3", 213, so he's got a big frame. He kind of reminds me of like a Cortland Sutton type guy, or even a Michael Gallup or Corey Davis, who could be productive in the NFL but aren't explosive guys.
Yeah.
Tony, what do we think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do have a little bit of concern with his ankle situation, as long as it heals properly, which it is, but he has shown signs of, the 40 and stuff being a little bit slower than he was a couple years ago before the injury.
Yeah.
So that might be a minor issue, but he seems to be getting or showing improvements. But that's my only concern for him, that is.
Okay, very good. All right. Let's go to my number 5, and that's going to be Quentin Johnson out of TCU. And he's 6'3", 206. He led the Horned Frogs in receiving in all 3 seasons before declaring early, before his senior year.
Yeah.
Averaged, about 15 fantasy points per game if you're doing college fantasy, which is pretty good. So he's good for like 7 to 8 catches for 70, 80 yards each game, which is really good. He's a productive receiver. Tell me what you know about him, John.
Yeah, he's kind of big, right? 6'3", like 210, something like that. I feel like I don't know what I want to like compare him to like Treylon Burks, right? He's got that size, but he's got a little bit of speed to him. He's got a little bit of dog. TCU, I mean, there are some people who rate him actually as the number 1 wide receiver. So I think this guy's going to be a very productive NFL wide receiver. So
good comp. A lot of people also like talk about Martavis Bryant type skills, like a little bit of speed, big guy, good hands, go up and get it. Chase Claypool is another example of a comp. Yeah. I mean, are you buying that, Tony?
They're better in the pros than those guys.
Sure. I'm a little bit of the negative guy here. I keep, pulling out the scary things, but they're working on his T-Rex arms. He has the habit of doing this kind of stuff and really, instead of grabbing.
Yeah.
I watched some reels on him. They'll fix that. That's something that can be fixed. So
yeah.
But I like the dude. He's big. I think that's the most impressive part.
He is big. He's a big dude. Yeah, and he's fast. So, yeah. That can translate well in the
Big
NFL. So.
and fast seems like a good combination to me.
Yeah, it does. All right, let's talk about our number 3 receiver, the other guy in Tennessee on the other side, Jalen Hyatt. John, we already talked about Tillman. Now we're going to talk about Hyatt. You think Hyatt's the better receiver of the two, right?
Yeah, I mean, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, only had 67 receptions, so he's a big play guy. This guy, man, he finds a way to make big plays at big times. So I really enjoy this guy. I think he's going to be a big-time player in the NFL.
Nice. Tony, what do you think?
Like a number 2 receiver.
Yeah, he's definitely explosive, speed, above average hands, countless number of things. Again, a little bit smaller framed. That's would be the only thing that I would worry about. But as talented as he is, we've seen a lot of guys that aren't that big that are extremely productive, and this guy's one of them so far. So look forward to seeing him.
He put up huge numbers and demanded a lot of respect. He tortured Georgia's defense, which is a really good defense.
He did.
Yeah. Not only that, Georgia, the second time they played him, they were giving him 10 yards cushion because they're so afraid of his speed up top. They were just like getting off of him and letting him catch all the underneath stuff. So he tortured them. Like he tortured them bad. So I like the talent. I like him a lot. I mean, like I said, he's my number 4, so I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's going to be a good NFL receiver, John. It just depends on where he ends up.
Think T.Y. Hilton. Like that's how I feel about this guy. Yeah, like he's that guy. T.Y. Hilton in his good days, not T.Y. Hilton now. But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, Johnny.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to my number 3 out of SC, Jordan Addison. John, are you familiar with Jordan Addison?
I mean, he's just a Blitnikoff Award winner. So, yeah. He's a USC guy. He actually got to play with Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh first before he transferred to USC. But so this guy's played for a couple of big colleges. He's 1,600 yards, 18 touchdowns this last year. It's pretty good. Yeah, for USC.
Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, that guy's always open. He's a deep threat. He's an intermediate guy. He can run the whole route tree and he's really talented. If it wasn't for the guy who I'm pretty sure is your number 1 and my favorite, obviously being an Ohio guy, this guy would be the number 1 wide receiver. He might still get drafted number 1.
Yeah, he's very talented. Like you said, they're comparing him to like CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley. I mean,
I like the Diggs comparison.
High mark.
Yeah, Diggs is that's who I would compare him to. Like that's exactly who he reminds me of.
Wow, Tony, what do you think?
He's great after the catch. That's something memorable for me. I was like, who is this kid? I didn't even know who he was watching a game. Like, who is this? And I turned it up. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. He was breaking some tackles, fast, dodging. Awesome. He's exciting.
He is exciting.
He's also played slot and wide out. He's played slot and wide. He caught a lot of screen passes his senior year, so they like to get him out there in space. I mean, he's just a talented dude, man. He's gonna be a really good pro wide receiver.
All right, my number 2 receiver, I think, is going to be a very good pro receiver as well. Didn't get as much hype coming into the draft, but he's starting to get some love, and that is Zay Flowers out of BC, Boston College. I really like this guy a lot. 4'4", 240, which means he's good in straight line speed. He looks like a poor man's Antonio Brown is what they're saying, so he's really good at ball tracking. Yeah. Doesn't have like the NFL size that we're looking for. He's only 5'9", 182, so he's built kind of like Antonio Brown. I just don't think he's going to be as good as AB, but he has a lot of potential. So, Tony, what do we think about Zay Flowers?
I like him. Yeah, he does have potential. Fast, elusive. Like you said, he's only like $180 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see him bulk up a little bit, but he's going to bring value to some team. I'd like to see who's going to grab him. He would be a great number 2 the way I see him now. Maybe a weaker team, he could be a number 1 eventually, but great number 2.
He needs to get on a team that can use his run after the catch, right? Gets him the quick pops in space right there, like quick slants, and let him just take over after that, because I think that's where he's best.
One of the attributes that is like wowing scouts about him is his arms. He has 29.25-inch arms, which is there's only been 17 wide receivers that have as good a length as him, and he's a shorter guy, so he has extremely long arms for his size. That will help him with the radius, the catch radius, very much like Antonio Brown, right?
Yep.
True.
Yeah, it is a lot like him. Yeah.
I'm really interested to see where Zay Flowers ends up, because if he's on the right team with the right quarterback, I think he could be a monster in fantasy football, guys, for years to come. I really like Zay Flowers. As you can see, most places probably have Zay in there, like maybe bottom 10, 5 to 10.
Yeah.
I have him number 2. That's how much I like Zay Flowers.
Okay.
So, we'll see.
Nice.
And then I think we all agree on our number 1. And this is not universal throughout the industry, but I think, like Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State, right, Johnny?
We absolutely love Jackson Smith and Jigba. Honestly, if he would have ended up playing this year and hadn't been injured, it would have been a hard out for any team. Not that they didn't have good wide receivers, but he's special. I mean, that Rose Bowl game 2 Rose Bowls ago, 15 catches, 347 for 3 touchdowns. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. 300
against Alabama, Johnny.
Against Bama. I mean, just ridiculous. He's a great slot receiver, but he can also play on the outside. I mean, I know he's kind of profiled as a slot receiver. That's where he played mostly at Ohio State, but he was also playing with, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, so pretty good ones on the outside.
By the way, didn't play in that game against Alabama. Yeah. He had to step up, and step up he did.
And he did, for sure. But he played with those guys and was still fantastic. I mean, gosh, think about that. Those 3 receivers right there, Olave, Wilson, and then Njigba. It was unbelievable for Ohio State fans like myself. So, which is, why Stroud's probably going to be drafted, number 1 or 2. But just unbelievable receiver, going to be an unbelievable pro. Somebody's getting a 10-year star all-pro type wide receiver.
Tony.
Good mental game, clutch catch. Clutch catch.
He is. He is he's big time. That's what I like about him. He comes through when you need it the most. Like I said, those other 2 receivers were out in that national championship game against Alabama, and look what he did. It was incredible. So, Tony, what else do you like about Smith and Jigba? I mean, other than he goes to Ohio State.
Other than Johnny detailed all of it, there's nothing else to say. Like I said, the clutch catching is the biggest thing for me.
Okay.
The guy has a tremendous mental game to step up when they need him to step up.
Yeah.
How do we see him in the NFL? What do we see him at, like, as far as tool set? I mean, is like Amon St. Brown, like a slot guy who catches like a lot of volume?
Yeah, he could separate. I mean, that's his thing. Like he can separate from people. He comes back to the ball. He's a smart wide receiver. He does all those little things well that make him really productive. So that's how I feel about him.
Nice. I could also see him like running bubble screens and stuff to him, and short slants and like button hooks, and just a lot of different things he can do. He's probably the best route runner in college football.
Yes.
And we're going to get to see that and display in the NFL. And if you're a good route runner, you're going to get that volume, baby. You're going to get that volume.
That's how you create the separation, right? I mean, you have to run perfect routes to create separation, and that's exactly what he does. It's really good.
You know who I would like to see end up with Jackson Smith and Jigba? The Bears.
Why are you trying to make me that happy? Why are you trying to get me all excited?
They traded back. They got some extra capital, and they could use one of those picks on a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba to make that offense even better for Justin Fields. I really like that idea, John.
I love that idea. You put him with Moore, Mooney, and Jigba. Ooh,
now you're talking.
It's a nice day. I think Tennessee is going to end up getting him personally, but they need somebody too, and they're right in that.
Tennessee always needs wide receivers, John. Always.
True. Well, they didn't when they had A.J. Brown, but then they got rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you guys. So I unveiled my top 10, but of these guys, John, we know in Jigba's your favorite, but like, who else do you like past him? Past Smith and Jigba, who's your next favorite receiver of that group?
It's got to be the USC kid. Like, to me, those are like the two, like, honestly, like the two surest bets for me. So,
okay, Tony.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I wish I could give you something better to go on, but those two are inevitable.
Yeah. Those two are going to be good.
Yeah.
It all depends on fit too, like where they end up. Like, I can't wait for this draft because so much depends on where these guys land. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if they go, it's such a difference. Like, if one of them ends up on the Titans, you're like, whatever. But what if one of them ends up on the Chiefs? You know, like, what if Njigba ends up with Patrick Mahomes? You know what I mean? We're talking Justin Jefferson type production.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah. For sure.
That's pretty good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda.
Or the Bills. The Bills.
Oof.
Put them opposite of Stephon Diggs. I mean, what are we doing here?
Oh, that's scary.
Might as well just
Very nice.
might as well just mail the Lombardi Trophy to him. What's happening? Orchard Park.
All right.
Just get ready.
All right. That was good breakdowns of the wide receivers, guys. I appreciate that. That was really, really good. I hope the viewers got something out of that. And now we're anxiously awaiting the draft in 3 weeks. So
Can I wait?
Now that we finished that,
This little surprise segment you have for us.
Yeah. So,
if I may, just quick happy birthday to Portillo's. Today's our anniversary, 60 years, 60th anniversary to Portillo's. If you don't know them, go to Chicago, get them. We're also expanding all over the United States. Just want to get a little something. Today's our birthday, our 60th anniversary.
Portillo's.
They're almost as old
Tony,
as you,
tell him,
John.
man, it's good, right?
Oh yeah, it's good. It's so good that you may. I'm not even gonna say it.
It'll put you in the hospital.
It's that.
It's that good.
It's that good. It's that good. Yeah, it's delicious, man. It's delicious.
It's good stuff. All right, let's go.
Chicago street food.
Those are my Bears fans. My shout out to my Bears fans. It's Portillo. Hey, Portillo's.
All right, go get some freaking Portillo's, all right?
Oh, God.
All right. I've been teasing it all night, Johnny. I know you want it. Let's do it. I want to do a segment that I'm calling the Nelson Mandela effect. For those of you that don't know what I mean, I'm going to explain myself. So, what is the Nelson Mandela effect? Sometimes it's referred to as the Mandela phenomenon, but in essence, it is the instance of false collective memory. So let's start with how it became the Nelson Mandela effect. So a lot of people thought that Nelson Mandela died in jail, like back in the 80s. Everyone is just, that's what happened. But it's not what happened. He actually lived to 2013 when he finally passed away. By the way, not in jail. Okay? So that is why they call those type of false memories the Nelson Mandela effect. So if you saw Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, you probably remember Darth Vader uttering the famous line, "Luke, I am your father." Right, Johnny?
Right. Didn't happen.
But that's not what happened. That's not what he said. You might be surprised to learn that the line actually was, "No, I am your father." And if you don't believe me, go watch the movie and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I know everyone's like, "What? No, I'm positive." But that you're misremembering. It's the Mandela effect. I have some other examples.
Tommy Boy, who was quoting it into the fan and said, "Luke, I am your father."
Exactly. It's been used so many times in different movies. That's why it's ingrained in your head.
Yeah.
But if you watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, you probably remember the line, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all." We all have said that at some point, right? But that's not what she said. You may be shocked to learn that she actually said "magic mirror on the wall." Did you know that, Tony?
I didn't know that. No.
This probably
Johnny.
now explains why Tony hasn't been able to get his mirror to say shit to him, because he's been.
That's true. Damn it.
John, do you remember Jiffy peanut butter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it doesn't exist, John. It's Jif.
Oh, Jeff. Oh, that's right. Skippy and Jeff. Yeah.
Tony, how do you remember them spelling Looney Tunes?
L-O-O, isn't it?
Looney is
L-O-O-N-E-Y.
L-O-O-N-E-Y, but Tunes, how do they spell Tunes?
Oh, good question, man. I mean, I want to say T-O-O-N-S.
So does everyone else, but it's actually spelled like iTunes. T-U-N-S.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couple more examples. The Monopoly Man, in fact, does not wear a monocle. Everyone thinks he's wearing the monocle, but he's not.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Ed McMahon was never part of Publishers Clearinghouse. Nope. And he didn't bring you any checks either when you won the $1 million prize. That was not.
Nobody ever won the $1 million prize. So.
Well, that's part of the problem. But he actually worked for a place called American Family Publishers.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are some interesting facts, the Mandela effect. So I thought it'd be fun to go look at some statistics in fantasy football and kind of go over some facts that you would not necessarily remember correctly. All right. And I'm going to stick with just last season, 2023. We're going to go back and go over a few things, and maybe it'll shock your mind. Maybe it won't. Maybe you already knew these things, but I thought it was interesting. So let's dive right in, John.
Okay.
Tony, I want to ask you both this question. So Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, where did they finish in fantasy football this year? Do you think they were wide receiver 2s in fantasy football? Were they wide receiver 3s? What does your memory tell you, Tony, John? What do you think?
Twos on their team or in like just overall
fantasy football. So if they were ranked 1 through 12, they were wide receiver 1. 13 through 12.
I think they were ones. They were ones on their own team, but they were ones.
John, good call. They were. A lot of people were down. Waddle had struggled for many weeks, and so people were down on him. And Devontae Smith started the season with a 0. And everyone, I think, in their minds thinks like Tony, and I thought this for sure. They were probably like in the top 20 area wide receivers. But actually, Jalen Waddle finished 7th, and Smith was the 9th wide receiver overall. So they were wide receiver 1s. And a lot of people don't realize that. So that was my first Nelson Mandela effect of the wide receiver position.
Nice. Good one.
All right. Next one. I want to talk about Travis Kelce. He was drafted in most leagues in the 2nd round, and in our league, he was actually early 3rd round. And it paid off. It was a good investment. But what I want to know, what you guys think, is would Kelce have been a good pick in the 1st round? If he was taken in the 1st round, would he have given you value in fantasy football last year?
I'm saying yeah.
Tony's starting to get the gist of this game, and he's going, yeah, he did. John, what do you think?
Well, I know why, but
yeah, I mean, he was just so productive. I think he would have been better than most of the receivers last year, right?
Very good call, John. So Travis Kelce definitely would have been a great pick in the 1st round. So much so that if he was a wide receiver, Travis Kelce would have finished as the wide receiver 5 this year. So all those guys that we took in the 1st round at wide receiver, I mean, Kelce was just as good as, okay? Yeah. And let me put it to you this way. Travis Kelce averaged 6 more points a game than the next best tight end in fantasy football. 6. And the majority of them, he averaged more than 10 points more than. So if you had Travis Kelce, you got 6 more points than anyone else in your league right off the bat. And so he actually would have been valuable at the number 1 overall pick, John. He would have provided value if you took him 1st overall. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the rest of your team would have been, but yes, that would have been, he would have provided value there for sure. Yeah.
Let me put it this way. It's the biggest gap between, the top guy at their position than any other position.
Oh, by far, probably.
Quarterback, running back, it doesn't matter. Travis Kelce was by far the best, better than everyone else at his position. You know what I mean?
The 5th best wide receiver. Like, that's insanity for a tight end. Wow.
It's such an incredible year that he had, and people don't even realize this dude should go in the 1st round again this year, guys.
Yeah.
All right. I got another fun one for you. All right. Most consider Mike Evans' 2023 fantasy season to be a huge bust. The whole Buccaneers offense was a sham. He was drafted in the same draft position as other wide receivers, such as Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen. They all went in the same kind of bunch. Would you guess that Evans finished as a wide receiver 3, a wide receiver 4, a wide receiver 5? Like, what do you think, Tony?
Nowhere near that.
Like lower?
If I'm gonna be honest, I'm looking in him as like a wide receiver 15.
You're talking like not
numbers.
draftable.
Not in the top 10.
Oh, you're saying 15th overall.
Overall,
okay.
Yeah.
John, what do you think? How do you feel about Mike Evans' season?
I think it was a little disappointing, but I think it's probably not judging by your question. I don't think it was as disappointing as I think it was. But if I was just asked on the street, I would have said he was probably not even in the top 20.
So I agreed. In my head, Mike Evans was horrible. I was thinking, gosh, most weeks you couldn't even play him. And then I looked back and realized that Mike Evans was wide receiver 13 overall for the season, which is damn near wide receiver 1, almost. And we shall not forget he scored 70 points in week 16, which propped up his stats. Right. But if you're in a head-to-head league, he was a disappointment all year. He only had 2 big games, and most people probably didn't even play him because he was so disappointing for the rest of the weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Mike Evans outscored.
Wrong. He was disappointing. It just happened to have a couple of really good weeks.
He did. But he did outscore Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, and Keenan Allen, and other guys such as Christian Kirk, DK Metcalf, former teammate or teammate Chris Godwin, and Deebo Samuel, among others. So it really wasn't as bad as people think.
I mean, I outscored some of those people. So
funny, John. You're so funny.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Moving on, and since you're starting to get the gist of the game, one more for you that I'm sure you'll figure out pretty quick. Derrick Henry looked a little bit old and washed up last season. Where do you think he finished in fantasy football at the running back position? I'm just going to leave it open like that. Where would you guess Derrick Henry finished? Don't look.
I'm not looking. I'm going to guess 5th. It's a way better number than we were all thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 9.
That's what I thought too. I thought he was like a bottom top 10 kind of guy last year. Derrick Henry finished 3rd. He was 1 point behind. Take a guess who he was 1 point behind. Christian McCaffrey. He was 1 fantasy point behind McCaffrey for 2nd, and he finished 9 points behind Josh Jacobs for the RB1. That's how close he was to being the number 1 overall running back in our league and in most leagues.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry was actually really good. And here's the kicker. He missed a week.
Yeah.
He missed a week. And if he would have played, he would have been the number 1 overall running back. And we all thought he sucked last year, right? At least for him.
I didn't think he sucked, but I did think he was below his normal percentage. But yeah, I thought about that. Yeah. I have more exposure because I live in Tennessee, so I kind of knew he was not sucking. Like I knew he was pretty good.
Isn't that incredible though? Like,
yeah.
Your perception, when you check it out, it's not really what you think.
I like that segment, Chuckster.
Yeah. I knew you would, Johnny. We'll do that again a few times throughout the year. I enjoyed that. Tony, did you enjoy that?
Loved it.
It's just hard. You have to do a lot of digging to find like anomalies from your brain,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, last year was so weird. I feel like last year you could find more anomalies, right? It just was so weird. Such a weird
year. Yeah.
There's a few free agents that are still on the market that I just wanted to go over real quick that we looked at last week. Odell Beckham's still kind of poking around out there. Have we heard anything, Johnny, about Odell Beckham?
I'm hearing the Rams are really close, actually, to signing him again. I think they missed him and they need some help at wide receiver. So you might see Odell back.
I think that would be a good fit, and that would help Cooper Kupp a lot to take a little pressure off of him on the other side.
Yeah, and Stafford's I think Stafford's the one pushing for it because he liked that year when he had both those guys.
And they won the Super Bowl, yeah.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins is still on the trade market and could get released. We're not sure what's going to happen, but the Bills are like really high on trying to get him on their team. Josh Allen would love to have DeAndre Hopkins. That is a scary fit. Tony, what do we think?
Scary? Oh my God. I almost don't want it just because I'm a Bengal fan, but it would be pretty awesome to see. They are communicating a lot, so that could work out.
Yeah, I would love to see him on the Chiefs or the Bills. I think those are the best two fits.
Yeah.
They need that kind of receiver there, like just an absolute best hands in the league type receiver. Like he'll catch everything his way. I mean, you can't pick any better offenses than those two. So I'm really excited to see where Hopkins lands. And then Ezekiel Elliott is still out there. What are we hearing? Anything?
Crickets. I'm hearing crickets. That's what I'm hearing.
Now, the Bengals have talked about this as well. Is Joe Mixon going to be there? Tony, what's your feel on Joe Mixon?
He's, the team still likes him. He's still a favorite.
They must not be worried about his legal stuff because they let what's his face, Samar JP Ryan go. So I think he's going to be there. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good to go. I wouldn't mind seeing them get some. I mean, they got a couple young kids behind them. Not even that young, but they haven't really been given the ball enough or enough playing time that have a good track record, but they have to prove themselves. But I still would like to see them bring somebody else in that might be, like bigger back or maybe a third down guy or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Joe Mixon catch more balls out of the backfield. I think he's capable of that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they thought – I mean, Samaje was good. Piran's good. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know why they thought he was better at catching the ball than Mixon to begin with because Mixon's always had good hands, Johnny.
I know. I don't get it either. I really don't get it, actually. So I
have him on Dynasty, so I'm really hoping.
Yeah. They need to get him out in space. I mean, he's so good when he's out there. I don't understand. There's a lot of mouths to feed around there, though, in the passing game. So.
All right. Good job tonight, boys. Really happy with the breakdowns of the wide receivers. I thought that was really good information for our viewers. We hope you enjoy watching Fantasy Sports Island. Once again, we do this every week.
Come
It
see.
takes about an hour of your time. You can get some valuable information. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Give us 5-star ratings on your podcast providers. And I'd like to thank Mr. Tony Brooks, Sir Poops a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you, too. Johnny freaking Ballgame. Thank you very much.
Reaper, great show as always. Your preparation makes us all look good, my friend.
Appreciate that, Johnny. We do put a lot of work into this for you, folks. We hope you enjoy. Leave us a comment. Hit us up on Twitter. Once again, at JohnnySpell85, at Poop Newton, and at the Fantasy Reaper. Hit us up. And we'll see you next week. You guys have a good week.
Aloha.